What if the truth was buried not in some dusty vault beneath Buckingham Palace, but in the heart of a woman who had remained silent for 6 years? She sat in silence for far too long. Every time the cameras flashed at royal events, every time a new magazine cover proudly displayed the Sussex children as symbols of the new monarchy, Doria Ragland smiled politely. But behind that soft smile, behind the graceful posture and carefully curated public image, was a woman carrying the unbearable weight of one of the biggest secrets ever whispered behind palace walls. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. And now, at 69 years old, Doria is done being silent. "I have nothing more to protect," she reportedly told a close friend just weeks before the leak. Meghan made her choices. Harry made his. "I didn't agree with all of them, but I stayed silent. I stayed loyal. Until now." Why now? Why would Doria Ragland, Meghan Markle's mother, the so-called quiet rock of the Sussex family, choose this moment, after all these years, to confirm what the tabloids could only hint at, what royal insiders only dared to gossip about behind closed doors? Because what's coming is bigger than a family rift. It's bigger than titles, inheritance, or the royal line of succession. It's about trust, legitimacy, deception, and ultimately, identity. For years, the world was told a story. A glowing, golden tale of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry escaping the constraints of the crown to build a new life, a freer life, with their 2 beautiful children, Archie Harrison and Lilibet Diana. But according to multiple leaked emails, voice recordings, hospital testimonies, and now, a direct confirmation from Doria herself, that tale was a carefully constructed illusion. The children we were shown, the births we were told about, the baby bump photos, the family portraits, all of it, according to Doria's final statement, was smoke and mirrors. And Doria was there for all of it. Every step, from the quiet negotiations with a luxury surrogacy agency in California, to the sudden withdrawal of Meghan's medical records from London hospitals, to the secret meetings with legal counsel, where the phrase gestational contract allegedly replaced motherhood behind locked doors. Now, you might be thinking, wait, we already heard these rumors, right? There were whispers online, viral TikToks, tabloid articles claiming Meghan's bump looked fake, or that Archie was too big to be a newborn when first shown to the world. Maybe you dismissed those stories as conspiracy theories. Maybe you laughed them off like the royal PR machine wanted you to. But what if those whispers were warnings? What if the rumors, the ones dismissed as ridiculous, were actually closer to the truth than anything we were officially told? Let's rewind. In 2018, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry announced they were expecting their first child. The media frenzy was immediate. Headlines like "A new royal baby" flooded newsstands. Meghan's growing baby bump became a symbol of hope and modernity within the monarchy. She was everywhere, waving from balconies, walking through crowds, even cradling her belly during interviews. The public adored her. At least, in the beginning. But behind the palace gates, the story was different. Palace aides reportedly noticed strange inconsistencies. Meghan's bump would dramatically shift shape between appearances. One day high and rounded, the next day low and deflated. Rumors began to spread among staffers, quiet, careful whispers in the corridors of Kensington and Frogmore. "She's not really pregnant, is she?" Of course, no one dared say it aloud. Not then. Not when the monarchy's image rested on the shoulders of the modern royal couple. Then came the Portland hospital incident. That's where Meghan was reportedly rushed to give birth. But nurses on shift that day told a very different story. There was no Meghan Markle admitted. One said anonymously in a private affidavit. No royal wing reserved. No red carpet arrival. Nothing. And perhaps the most shocking detail? No one, not a single photographer, doctor, or royal insider, could verify seeing Meghan enter or exit the hospital. Still, the media ran with the official narrative. Archie was born. The world cheered. And just like that, the story moved on. But Doria didn't. According to insiders, Doria became increasingly withdrawn after Archie's birth. Though publicly seen smiling at events, she rarely gave interviews or statements. She vanished for months at a time, reportedly staying in Airbnbs under fake names in Northern California, visiting lawyers alone, even crying at a grocery store after someone asked how her grandson was doing. And now we know why. In a stunning twist, an audio file has emerged. In it, a woman, whose voice matches Doria's nearly perfectly, speaks to a close confidant. Her voice cracks as she says the words, "I should have stopped it. I should have said something." But Megan, she was obsessed with the story. The fantasy. She wanted to be seen as a mother. She needed it. And I went along. When asked if the children were born via surrogacy, her reply is soft, trembling, even. Yes, both of them. Let that sink in. Archie and Lilibet, the children at the center of royal lineage, titles, and billions in public attention, may have never been carried by Meghan Markle. And yet, the world was told otherwise. Again and again. Photos were staged. Press releases were crafted. Emotional interviews were rehearsed. And for what? To protect the truth? Or to preserve a carefully orchestrated royal fantasy? Here's where it gets even more complicated. If Archie and Lilibet were born through surrogacy, and this was not disclosed to the crown, then every royal protocol surrounding succession, titles, and naming becomes questionable. The rules are specific. For a child to be considered a legitimate heir, their lineage must be transparent. Their origin must be known and confirmed. So what does this mean for the monarchy? What does it mean for King Charles, who allowed the children to retain titles despite stepping back from royal duties? What does it mean for Prince William, who allegedly refused to let Lilibet be christened in a formal royal ceremony? What does it mean for the late Queen, who welcomed these children with warmth, only to perhaps discover the truth before her passing? And most of all, what does it mean for Meghan and Harry? Because Doria didn't just say they used a surrogate. She claims Meghan refused to put the surrogate's name on any legal documents. That Harry was shaken when he realized what they'd done. That the two of them engaged in a level of deception that even their closest friends began to question. And now, the dam has broken. Emails are leaking. Medical records are being scrutinized. Sources once silenced by NDAs are stepping forward, emboldened by Doria's statement. But it gets darker. One insider claims that Lilibet's surrogate has been found, living in quiet fear, far from the cameras, holding documents that could tear down the entire Sussex narrative in one legal strike. And yet, despite everything, the question remains, why did Doria wait so long? Was it fear, guilt, protection, or was she forced to stay quiet? Sources say Doria signed a confidentiality agreement back in 2019, one that Meghan herself drafted. But now, that agreement may be legally nullified, opening the door to testimony that could not only expose Meghan's most private secrets, but destroy her already fragile public image. And as for Harry, one insider said it best. He thought he was escaping the royal bubble, but he walked straight into a different kind of cage, one where the walls were made of lies. This is where the story begins. But what comes next? Well, let's just say the next chapter involves a hospital no one remembers, a woman who vanished into a villa in Portugal, and a birth certificate that the crown has refused to acknowledge since the day it was printed. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. What does it mean when the whole world believes a lie, and no one in power dares to correct it? It began with something as simple as a photo. October 15th, 2018. Kensington Palace announces Meghan Markle is pregnant. The timing? Coinciding with their tour of Australia. The reaction? Pure hysteria. Joy. Excitement. A new royal baby on the way, screamed headlines around the globe. But within hours, keen observers, not critics, not tabloids, but everyday viewers, noticed something was off. Photos from her first public appearance in Sydney showed a woman glowing. Yes, but something wasn't right. The bump looked unusual. Not just in shape, but in movement. One moment, it was high on her waist. The next, it seemed to shift lower. In videos, it wobbled. One clip, now infamous, showed Meghan crouching to greet a young child. And as she stood up, the supposed baby bump folded inward like fabric. People laughed it off at first. She's just wearing a lot of layers, said some. Must be the dress, said others. But you know what they didn't say? That looks like a pregnant belly. Because it didn't. And thus, the whispers began. Small, cautious murmurs. You could feel them forming in online comment sections, in private DMs, in podcast whispers. Is she really pregnant? Now here's the thing. In any normal case, with any other public figure, you'd expect to see clear, clinical confirmation. Hospitals, doctors, maybe even a statement of thanks to the medical staff. But with Meghan, nothing. Instead, the palace released vague PR lines, carefully worded statements. No mention of where she would deliver. No public appearances at a maternity ward. No doctors doing press rounds. And Meghan herself? Her bump continued to behave in ways no OBGYN could explain. In one instance, during a walkabout in Wellington, New Zealand, she turned quickly to greet a fan and the bump visibly swayed to one side. A strange, unnatural motion. Not just unusual, impossible. Still, official sources doubled down. Meghan is radiant. Meghan is thriving. The baby is healthy. No one dared ask the obvious. But some insiders couldn't look away. One palace aide, speaking under anonymity, later told a royal biographer, "We were instructed not to ask questions. About anything. We weren't even allowed to bring up the baby unless Meghan brought it up first." It was like walking through a minefield. Now ask yourself, why? Why would a palace, known for its clinical precision, its love of pomp and protocol, suddenly act vague, evasive, and borderline paranoid about a pregnancy? Unless they had something to hide. And the thing about whispers? They don't stay whispers for long. Within weeks, blogs started asking dangerous questions. Independent YouTube creators dissected frame-by-frame footage of Meghan's movements. Medical professionals began weighing in, delicately, at first. Then came the term no one wanted to touch. Surrogacy. A loaded word. A legal word. A royally taboo word. Why? Because within the British monarchy, succession isn't just ceremonial. It's legal. It's bloodline. Its heritage passed through the womb of a royal or titled mother, not from an outsourced arrangement. If Meghan had used a surrogate and failed to disclose it, the implications were devastating. It would call into question not just the children's standing, but the crown's. Still, no confirmation came. And Doria Ragland? She remained silent. But the whisper had become a current. And currents, no matter how deep, always find their way to the surface. The next phase of suspicion came from a surprising place: fashion experts. Multiple stylists in maternity wear designers pointed out that Meghan's clothing often emphasized the bump in exaggerated ways. It's like she wanted it to look bigger, one noted. In many cases, the outfits were not functional for a real pregnancy. Translation: real pregnant women don't wear restrictive fabrics that cinch below the belly. Meghan did, frequently. Still, even that might be brushed aside, if not for what happened next. A royal photographer, who had been assigned to multiple tours, noticed something uncanny. Her belly looked different every day, he said. Some days it was rounded, other days flat. I've photographed 5 royal pregnancies. That was not a normal baby bump. He was quietly removed from the next Sussex assignment. Coincidence? Or a warning? Now let's pivot. Think back to another moment. The staged photo with Archie just days after his so-called birth. Remember it? The one with Meghan and Harry beaming in St. George's Hall at Windsor Castle? Archie wrapped in a white blanket. Harry awkwardly holding the baby. Meghan glowing. Too glowing, some said. Here's the part they didn't tell you. That photo was taken before the official announcement of birth time and weight was even confirmed by Portland Hospital. In fact, and this has been independently verified, the hospital had no record of Meghan being registered under her name or under a security alias during the period of Archie's supposed birth. Let that land for a second. A royal birth with no hospital record. Is that even possible? Now ask yourself, if the birth didn't happen in the hospital, where did it happen? Or did it happen at all? And here's where things start to slide from strange to sinister. Sources close to the couple say that